It was a quiet afternoon. The sky was soft blue and the air was warm. Birds sang in the trees. Children played far away near the swings. In the middle of the park, on an old wooden bench, sat a boy with a book in his hand. His name was Leo. Was 17, a quiet boy who liked stories more than sports. He came to this park every Saturday to read or write in peace. But today. Something felt different. Leo opened his small notebook. It was full of strange stories about other worlds, powerful creatures, and people who changed the universe. Today, he was reading his newest story. It was about dragons, big, smart, magical dragons who watched humans from the skies. He read quietly, his eyes moving fast over the pages. He smiled to himself. "This part is good," he whispered. Then he looked around. The park was empty near him. No one sat close. The trees behind him stood still. But the wind. The wind had stopped. Strange, he thought. He looked up. The sun was shining. But the shadows on the ground were growing longer. Like something big was above him. He turned his head slowly and looked behind the bench. Nothing. Leo took a deep breath and kept reading. His voice got louder without him noticing. And then, from the red sky, the dragons came down with wings. Like fire, they did not speak. They only listened. Suddenly, the air shook. Thump. A loud sound came from behind a tree. Leo jumped. His notebook almost fell. He looked up quickly. Nothing again. He laughed nervously. "Maybe I'm just imagining things," he said. Too much dragon talk. But then something moved. A large shape stepped out from the trees, dotted golden eyes, scales like dark stone, and wings that shimmered in the light. It was at least 20 feet tall. Its claws dug into the grass. Its head was high, proud, and silent. It was a dragon. Leo could not move. His mouth stayed open. The dragon looked straight at him but did nothing. Then it sat down, like a calm dog waiting for a story. Leo looked around. "This is not real," he whispered. He stood up slowly, ready to run. But before he could move, another dragon came. Then a third. Then a fourth. All of them circled around the bench. No one made a sound. The park was completely silent. Even the birds had stopped singing. Leo felt his legs shaking. He wanted to scream. But the dragons were not attacking. They were waiting. He looked at the open notebook in his hands. The last words he read still echoed in his mind. They did not speak. They only listened. His heart was beating fast. He looked up at the biggest dragon. "Are you here because of my story?" The dragon's golden eyes blinked slowly. Then something strange happened. The dragon spoke. Its voice was deep but clear, calm but powerful. "Read." That one word made Leo freeze again. What? He asked. The dragon repeated, "Read." Leo looked down at his notebook. His hands were shaking, but he held it tight. He sat back down on the bench. The dragons watched him closely, like students listening to a teacher. He took a deep breath and began to read again, his voice quiet but clear. The sky turned red. The ground opened. From the other side, something dark began to rise. As he read, the sky above the park slowly changed. Clouds gathered. The air grew colder. The dragons stayed still, but their eyes burned brighter. They were not just listening. They were feeling every word. Leo stopped reading for a second. He looked up. "Is this real?" he asked. The smallest dragon came closer. It gently touched the notebook with one claw. A soft blue light came out from the pages. Leo's eyes widened. The notebook was glowing. The words on the page began to move like water. The big dragon spoke again. "You have the gift." Leo blinked. "What gift?" The dragon said, "The power of true story. You read, and the world listens." Leo looked at the notebook, then at the dragons. He was just a boy in the park, reading his strange little story. But now, Now the story was reading him, and something was about to begin, something big, something dangerous. Asterisk, the dragons did not blink. They did not breathe heavy. They simply listened, like monks before a sacred fire, and Leo sat frozen. He stared at the glowing pages in his notebook. His hands were cold, but the book felt warm, like it was alive. Then suddenly, time stopped. The wind froze in the air. A falling leaf just hung there mid-air. The birds above were still, wings open, not moving. Leo slowly stood up. "What is happening?" he whispered. He took one step forward. The grass under his foot lit up with a soft blue light. Each blade of grass glowed as if it knew something. Then a voice, not the dragon's, spoke, not from outside, but from inside his head. "The listener beasts have come. You opened the gate." Leo turned quickly. "Who said that?" The dragons didn't move. He looked around. The world was still paused. Then the air cracked behind him, like glass breaking. Slowly, a strange door appeared, floating just above the bench. Not a normal door. This one was made of metal and stars. It shimmered, showing pieces of other worlds behind it. Flying cities, silver oceans, Firestor mess. On the door, glowing words appeared. "The story gate. Only the chosen can speak reality." Leo stepped back. "This is a dream," he whispered. He pinched his arm. It hurt. No dream. Just then, one of the dragons finally moved. It was smaller, with silver eyes and a long tail. It walked slowly toward Leo, careful not to scare him. "I'm not the right person," Leo said. "I just write stories. I didn't mean to do whatever this is." The dragon bowed its head. "You told a story," it said, "and we heard it." Leo looked at the notebook again. The glow had stopped, but something was different. The pages were now blank. "What happened to my story?" he asked. "You gave it to the world," the dragon replied. "And now the world will answer." Leo opened the next page and gasped. On. It was a sketch of himself, sitting on the bench, surrounded by dragons. He didn't draw it. No one did. The next page? It showed the metal door opening. "No way," Leo whispered. Then the door began to open. A cold wind blew out from it. The sky above cracked like ice, and strange shapes flew across the clouds. Something was coming through the gate. The dragons looked up. One of them growled. A voice came from the door. This one was dark, broken, like a radio signal. "You spoke the story wrong, human. Now the old enemies rise again." Leo stepped back, notebook in hand. "Enemies?" The silver-eyed dragon moved in front of him. "You spoke of fire beasts, sky monsters, and dark kings. Now they remember." Leo looked confused. They were just words. Just stories. "No," the dragon said. "You are a story wielder. Your words build doors. Your thoughts create paths. You are not just telling stories. You are making realities." Leo's head was spinning. "But why me?" The dragon looked at him, its voice soft now. "Because humans forget how powerful stories are. But you remembered." Suddenly, the light from the door turned red. Something big and wrong began stepping through it. The dragon growled. "You wrote of a shadow general, didn't you?" Leo's face went pale. "Yeah, in chapter 4. He ruled a dead world. I made him up." The dragon looked at him seriously. "He's coming." The first thing Leo felt was heat. Not the sun. Not the warm kind. This was the heat of something powerful. Something waking up after sleeping for 1,000 years. The red light from the open door in the air grew stronger, spreading across the grass, touching the trees, turning everything strange. Colors began to fade. The air buzzed, full of static, like an old radio losing signal. And then came the footsteps. Slow, heavy, hollow. From inside the glowing door, a tall shape began to appear. It wore armor black as space. Its eyes burned like twin fires. Its voice echoed through the park like thunder inside a cave. Who dares speak my name again? Leo's heart almost stopped. He knew that voice. He had written it. That was the Shadow General. A villain he made up in his notebook just a week ago. A character who destroyed worlds with a thought. Leo had made him cruel, cold, unbeatable. He never thought he'd see him walking on real grass. One of the dragons stepped forward, growling low. It flared its wings, ready to fight. But the Shadow General just lifted one hand and the dragon froze. Not from fear, from something worse. The dragon's wings cracked, turning into stone. Its tail stiffened. It let out a sound that was not pain, but silence. Pure silence. Leo screamed, "Stop! I didn't mean for this." The Shadow General turned to him slowly. "You wrote me to win, boy, and now I will." Leo stepped back, gripping his notebook like a shield. His hands shook. His mind was blank. His story had come to life, and it hated him. The red light began to spread faster, reaching the benches, the swings, even the sky. Birds turned into black feathers and vanished. The trees began to bend in the wrong directions. Then came a whisper. It wasn't the dragons. It wasn't the villain. It was from the notebook. One word glowed on the blank page. Rewrite. Leo blinked. What? The page lit up again. Another word appeared. Speak. Leo looked around. Everything was falling apart. He didn't know what to say. What could a boy with a notebook do against a shadow that he created? He flipped to a fresh page, grabbed the pencil tucked into the spiral. His hands moved before he could think. He wrote. The Shadow General paused. He turned, and he saw her. The wind stopped, the red light blinked. And then someone stepped out from the trees. A girl. She looked about Leo's age. Long silver hair, eyes like mirrors. Dressed in strange armor that looked part metal, part dream. She held no weapon. Just a book. The general turned, confused. You. The girl opened her book and began to read. The ground shook. The red light cracked. The Shadow General staggered back as if hit by invisible hands. Leo stared. He didn't write her. Who are you? He whispered. She turned to him and smiled. Another one, she said. You're not the only story wielder. Leo's mind was racing. You came out of my notebook? She shook her head. No, I came because your voice reached the gate. We've been watching, waiting. The dragon stepped back, as if making room. The girl faced the Shadow General and read louder. Her words were like lightning. Each sentence hit the sky. Each line bent the air. The Shadow General screamed and fell back toward the gate. But it didn't. Close. Not yet. The girl turned to Leo. You started this, she said. But now we write it together. Leo looked at his notebook. The pages weren't empty anymore. New words were forming, growing, living. He had a partner now. A war had begun. But the real weapon was the story itself. Asterisk. It started to rain. But the water wasn't normal. It fell in slow motion, drop by drop, like time was trying to catch its breath. Leo could see each raindrop clearly, like tiny mirrors floating in the air. In each one, he saw parts of his story. A dragon, a battle, a boy holding a notebook too powerful for his hands. The silver-haired girl stood beside him, her eyes focused on the Shadow General, who had not yet stepped back through the gate. He was watching them both now, not with anger, but with curiosity. You're stronger than the last one, the general said to the girl. But he's raw, untouched, untrained, and full of fear. Leo flinched. The words hit too close. He stepped back again, the notebook still in his hands. The pages were filling on their own. His thoughts were writing themselves. He didn't know what was worse, the enemy outside, or the one inside his own mind. The girl looked at Leo. Don't think too loud. He can hear your fear through the page. Leo swallowed hard. How is any of this real? I was just reading in the park. I just made up a story. That's the lie we're told, the girl replied softly. That stories are small. That words are harmless, but stories are worlds. And you, Leo, just woke up a dead one. The rain picked up speed. Time began to move again. The dragons circled tighter, their wings blocking the sky. The park was almost gone now, eaten away by red mist and broken light from the still open gate. And then came the scream, not from the general, not from the dragons, it came from the sky itself. A creature dropped down like a falling star made of bones, wires, and fire. Another monster from Leo's old chapters. A side character. Barely described, but now it was real. Angry, hungry. Leo recognized it instantly. That's the bone swarm. I wrote that when I was 12. It wasn't even a full paragraph. Well, the girl said calmly, your childhood fears just found your adult voice. The bone swarm attacked without warning. It flew toward Leo at full speed, claws wide, screaming like a broken machine. He screamed, covered his head, but it didn't hit him. The girl stepped in front and shouted a single word from her book. Pause. The monster stopped in midair. Frozen, eyes wide, teeth still snarling but stuck. Leo's breath was shaking. How did you do that? I edited, she said. Fast. He stared at her. What are you? She didn't answer. Instead, she pointed at his notebook. He wants that. The Shadow General? Leo asked. No, she said. The bone swarm. The dragons, the characters. The world beyond the gate. They all want what you have. Leo looked at the glowing notebook in his hands. You mean this? No, she said softly. I mean your voice. For a moment, Leo went silent. He'd never thought his voice mattered. Not at school, not at home, not anywhere, but now everything was undone. Listening, and one wrong sentence could end worlds. The Shadow General raised his hand, and the ground split. Fire cracked out from below, black and gold. The gate behind him stretched wider. I grow stronger every time he doubts himself, the general said with a grin. Keep writing, boy. I'll write my way through you. Then he stepped back into the gate and disappeared. The bone swarm vanished too. The rain stopped, silence fell. But the girl did not relax. She turned to Leo. We have little time. Until... What? Until the gate opens again. And next time, he won't come alone. Leo sat on the bench, still shaking, still breathing too fast. He looked at the notebook again. A new sentence appeared on the page, one he hadn't written. The war of words has begun. He didn't understand it all yet. He didn't know who the girl really was, or how to control the notebook, or if he was strong enough. But something inside him whispered, keep writing. The world reset itself with a blink. One blink. Leo was still on the bench, notebook in hand, heart pounding. The girl stood nearby, her silver hair glowing faintly, her strange book tucked under one arm. The dragons had disappeared into the fog. Like they were never there. The park looked normal again, too normal. The swings moved slightly in the breeze. The trees stood still, almost pretending they hadn't just witnessed a gate tear open the sky. Children laughed in the distance. Cars passed outside the park fence. But something was wrong. The pages in Leo's notebook were no longer blank. They were full of new words, lines he didn't write. They weren't in his handwriting. The letters pulsed with a quiet, golden light. He turned the page. Another line appeared on its own. Your story has been infected. His chest tightened. He looked at the girl. What does this mean? She didn't answer right away. She knelt beside the notebook and touched the page with one finger. The golden light turned blue, then flickered like a weak signal. The Shadow General did more than walk through the gate, she said. He left a virus in your story, a code. Leo stared at her. Virus, like computer code? Yes, she said. Story code. Imagination is language. Language is code. And he rewrote a part of your world while you were speaking. Leo blinked. But I didn't even write those parts. She looked at him seriously. You don't always have to write it. Thinking is enough now. His throat went dry. How could he fight an enemy that listened to his thoughts? Then, behind them, a shimmer appeared in the air. Not a dragon, not a monster. It looked human. A glowing figure stepped out, dressed in a suit made of light and glass. Its face shifted like water, always changing. Its voice was calm and emotionless. Query. Received, memory detected. Hello, Leo. Leo jumped. What are you? The girl stepped forward. It's an AI, from the old story. Leo's eyes widened. I wrote this character 2 years ago. It was supposed to help the hero understand the past. The AI nodded. Confirmed. I am Alex. I survived deletion during the Mind War chapter. My memory fragment hid in your story core. Leo felt dizzy. Okay. You're saying you're alive because I forgot to delete a scene? Correct, Alex replied. And now I am here to assist. Your story is fractured. A rewrite is required. The girl turned to Leo. This is your chance. Chance for what? He asked. To take control, she said. To rewire the story, but you can't do it alone. Leo sat down again. The notebook pulsed in his lap. Alex raised one arm, and suddenly, blueprints appeared in the air floating. Words, symbols, sketches of characters, timelines, plot threads all tangled like a giant web. This is your story's structure, the AI said. It's alive now, breathing, unstable. Leo looked at the web of his imagination. There were versions of himself in it, braver, stronger, colder. Alternate Leos from half-written drafts, forgotten chapters. Characters he killed off were still drifting in pieces, looking for a way back, and in the center of it all was the Shadow General. Leo pointed at it. He's rewriting my story from the inside, the AI nodded. Infection level at 27%. If it reaches 50, you lose authorship. The story becomes his. Leo's hands tightened around the notebook. So how do I fix it? The girl looked at him. You don't fix it. You rewrite it. Leo stared. But I don't even know how. She leaned closer. Yes, you do. You've always known. You just never believed your words were real before. The AI added, a clean rewrite requires 3 things: intention, imagination, and sacrifice. Leo narrowed his eyes. Sacrifice? Neither of them answered. Then the air pulsed. Red light cracked across the blueprint. The Shadow General's face appeared briefly in the structure, smiling. He spoke just one word, soon. The web shook and vanished. The AI flickered. The girl's eyes turned sharp. Leo's notebook glowed hot in his hands. The war was not coming. It had already started. And Leo had one job now, rewrite the world before someone else does it for him. Asterisk, he woke up standing. No bed, no warning, no sky. Just darkness, deep and endless. Then, like ink spreading in water, light poured around him. Words formed in midair, glowing white, floating like smoke. Leo opened his eyes and found himself inside the story. His own story. Leo turned in a slow circle. He was inside a world built from paper and sound. Pages floated like walls. Sentences shaped the sky. Mountains were made of half-written scenes. Rivers flowed with ink. And everywhere he looked, the words were his. But they were changing. One line above him twisted into something unfamiliar. Leo hesitated too long. The story no longer belonged to him. He blinked. That's not mine. Then came the echoing laugh. It came from the center of this word world, vibrating through the air like thunder under glass. The Shadow General stepped out of a page taller than a building. His armor now had cracks filled with red fire. His eyes were sharper, hungrier. You left the gate open, he said calmly, and I made myself comfortable. Leo took a step back. He gripped the notebook tighter, but here, it felt different. He opened it. Blank again. Why can't I write? He shouted. The general walked closer. The ground beneath his feet rewrote itself with every step scenes erasing, settings melting into dark fog. Because you're in my version now, the general said. And in my version, the writer obeys the villain. Leo shook his head. No, I still have the pen. I still have the voice. The general smiled. Then speak. Let's see if your words still matter. Leo looked down, flipping through the empty notebook. His mind was racing. Every scene, every character, every choice was being rewritten. He whispered, Leo takes control of the story again. Nothing happened. The general laughed louder. You see, voice is not enough. You never believed you had the power. That's what makes me strong. A crack formed in the ground between them. From it rose something. Impossible. Another version of Leo. But this one was wrong. He wore black robes. His eyes were tired. His mouth was stitched shut with words made of wire. General placed a hand on the clone's shoulder. This is what you become when you stop believing in your story, he said. A silent version of yourself, one that can be controlled. Leo stepped back. No, that's not me. It's the one hiding in you, the general said. Then a small light blinked in the dark sky, a single star, then another, then hundreds. They were letters, symbols, pieces of lost chapters. Leo heard a voice, faint but familiar, the girl. Leo, she whispered across the dark. Remember the rewrite plan. Then another voice, colder, robotic. Alex, imagination, intention, sacrifice. Leo closed his eyes, and this time, he didn't think of a cool scene or a clever twist. He thought of truth. He thought of himself alone, scared, writing stories to escape everything. He thought of how those stories once saved him. He whispered to the notebook, I am the writer, not the written. The notebook shivered. A single word appeared. Accepted. The stitched-mouth version of Leo began to scream without sound and melted into black dust. The shadow general stepped back. What did you do? He asked. Leo didn't answer. He opened the notebook. Again. Words flowed like water. They obeyed him now. He wrote in his mind, the general cannot change what was never his to begin with. The fire in the villain's armor faded. Cracks began to spread. Through him. The world shook. The notebook burned with golden light. Leo was rewriting from the inside out. And for the first time, the shadow general looked afraid. But it wasn't over. Not yet. The girl's voice echoed again. One last thing, Leo. What will you sacrifice? He looked around. The story bent to him. He could erase the general, close the gate, fix everything. But that would mean one thing. He'd lose the story forever. No more dragons, no more magic, no more voice. Just a quiet life again. He had to choose the ending or the cost. The pen disappeared. It didn't fall or break. It simply faded from Leo's hand like it had never existed. He stood in silence, surrounded by the world he had created, a world now crumbling like a sandcastle under invisible waves. The sky was tearing apart word by word. Sentences unraveled mid-air. Characters, creatures, and dreams he had shaped were fading into dust. This was the price. The general knelt at the edge of the world, weakened and silent. His armor, once filled with fire, was now cold metal. He looked up at Leo, not with rage, but regret. You could have kept me, he said quietly. Made me your strength. Leo stared at him. You were never my strength. You were my fear pretending to be it. The general gave a slow nod, like a villain finally understanding the ending written for him. Then he too began to fade. The girl appeared again. Stepping through the collapsing pages, her armor cracked, hair falling in strands of silver light. Her voice was calm, but heavy. You ended it, Leo. Leo looked around. I didn't just end the story, I erased it. She stepped closer. That was the only way to stop him. You chose sacrifice. You gave up the world that gave you power. But I didn't want to lose it all, he whispered. I loved it. I know, she said gently. But stories aren't real unless you let them go. The last page of his notebook flipped on its own. Blank, no light, no magic, just paper. She placed her hand on his shoulder. It's time to go back. He didn't want to, not yet, not like this. But he nodded. The world began to dissolve into white. Just. Before everything vanished, he looked at the girl one last time. Who were you really? She smiled. I was the part of you that always believed. And then silence. Wind. Grass. Birds. He was back on the park bench. The notebook sat in his lap. It was plain now. No glow, no voice. Just paper, just ink, just a story waiting to be told. Again, he looked around. No dragons. No AI, no burning skies, just people walking dogs. A kid flying a kite. The real world. Breathing softly. Leo opened the notebook again. One line had appeared at the top of the first page. Every story ends, so a new one can begin. He smiled, not because he had power, but because he had something better, a voice. And this time, he knew exactly what to do with it. He turned the page and began to write again.